Christmas, which means someone's already offended and it's not even noon. But it's the most wonderful time of the year, according to people who don't need therapy. Somewhere above us, Jesus is rubbing his temples. Hope everyone's being good, or at least untraceable. Welcome back to No Hard Feelings. Kinda. This episode is a little different. Parts of it are heavy, parts of it are festive in the way that makes you question humanity. Today, I'm finishing the story of my first marriage, the part 3 of I Married a Narcissist. Not because it's easy, but because silence stopped protecting us a long time ago. But don't worry, this is still a Christmas episode, which means we're also getting into celebrity nonsense, holiday audacity, and a segment I lovingly call Fame, Flames, and Feelings, the Jesus is Watching remix, because healing is important. But so is laughing at people who should absolutely know better by now. So if you're listening while wrapping gifts, hiding from relatives, or pretending you're just tired when you're actually emotionally depleted, welcome. You're in the right place. I'm ready if you are.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Before I start this part, I want to say something clearly. This episode includes emotional abuse, addiction, and harm involving a child. There are no graphic details, but please take care of yourself while listening. There's a lot about my first marriage that I didn't know until years after it ended. As time passed, after Sean and I separated, I assumed things must have gotten better. He was successful academically and professionally. From the outside, his life looked really impressive. So I assumed his drinking was under control, mostly because I never heard anything loud enough to tell me otherwise. That illusion ended the Christmas my son went to visit him. While my son was there, Sean and his wife sat him down and told him that I was a heroin addict. I am not, nor have I ever been. They explained to him what heroin is to a 10-year-old. They told him that I could die at any moment, and my son sat there crying, terrified that his mom was going to die. Explaining heroin to a child in this way is not education. It's terror. Nothing says healthy co-parenting quite like traumatizing a child over Christmas. But that wasn't the worst part of that visit. Later that same day, Sean got obliterated drunk and started screaming at his wife because she didn't make enough salmon for dinner.
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me all night long.
Which, if you recall what got his panties all bunched up enough to tell me he wanted a divorce, don't mess with his dinner. That warrants emotional devastation and divorce in his world.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
During that argument, my son came downstairs to get a drink, and he overheard his father say that he never wanted him. Sean didn't know that my son heard him say that, but his wife did, and she told him. So, that night, a drunk and crying apology came. But there are some things that you just can't unsay. The damage was done. When my son told me what he had heard his dad say, I told him something very specific. I sat him down and I said, "That is not true, and I know it's not true. I remember the moment you were born. I remember your father holding you, crying, beaming with pride. You don't fake that. But I also didn't pretend that alcohol doesn't change people into someone you no longer recognize. Unfortunately, that was my son's first hard lesson, that alcohol doesn't just hurt the person drinking, it rewrites reality for everyone around them. And this was my first time really realizing that some people would rather burn down the entire village instead of lose what control they think they have and admit that they've done anything wrong.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me.
Over the next few years, Sean would call almost daily, and he would scream at my son over the phone about his grades. This was during the beginning of COVID, when every kid was struggling, and my son already had far more on his plate than he deserved. So I did what parents are supposed to do. I made sure my son had professional support. Because my son was covered under his father's health insurance, Sean had access to his providers. And this is where things crossed into something else entirely. A smear campaign. He contacted every one of my son's doctors, mental health professionals, teachers, his school guidance counselor, and told them I was a heroin addict. 2 of them believed him, which meant my son lost 2 providers who were actively helping him. It was more important to him to discredit me than to protect his child. And if you've ever wondered what alcoholism sounds like at 10 a.m., well, this is it. The school didn't believe him. The guidance counselor later told me that he was slurring his words when she spoke to him, and she point blank asked him if he'd been drinking. It was 10 o'clock in the morning, and he said, "You're damn right I have." At that point, it stopped being my word against his. Professionals were seeing it now too. When another holiday came up, my son begged not to go. The fear he felt was real, and I couldn't, in good conscience, force him into that environment. So I didn't. That's when he started sending the police to my house for wellness checks. They, of course, found nothing wrong, and eventually told him to stop abusing the system to harass me. And then eventually, like true narcissists, when they are not getting their way, they give an ultimatum. And the last phone call that my son had with his father, Sean told him to never contact him again unless he was ready to come live there permanently. And he also put it in writing. He texted him that exact same sentiment when they got off the phone. I still have the screenshot. And then there was silence. 5 or 6 years went by. No calls, no emails, no apologies, nothing. And 6 months before my son turned 18, Juan suddenly wanted to reestablish contact. So I talked to my son about it, and I told him I would support whatever he wanted to do. And he said, very calmly, "I'm good." Tell him I said no thanks. I relayed that respectfully and told him that if he ever does change his mind and decide he would be open to reestablishing contact, that he will be the one to reach out. And that's when the harassment began. Because again, narcissists cannot take the word no, and it has to be done, everything has to be on their terms. For the next several months, there were incessant emails, phone calls, voicemails, threats of taking me to court. For what? I have no idea. But if I had a nickel for every time this man threatened to take me to court, I would be a very rich woman. And guess how many times he actually has taken me to court? 0. Well, we sent no contact letters, both of us, and the contact continued. At this point, the next step is a restraining order. A few months ago, for the first time in all of these years, I filed for child support, which you might be thinking, didn't you just say that your son is 18? Yes, he is, but he's a senior in high school, which means that legally I have a right to child support. This must have really made Sean flip his lid. During the proceeding, which was done virtually, he lied and said that he has not claimed our son on taxes every single year, which he most definitely has. It didn't even matter for that proceeding. It wasn't relevant, but he just wanted to put that in the back of everyone's mind that I'm lying about something. And funny enough, the very next day, Sean made unwanted contact again, but in that email, he admits to having claimed him every year and that he will continue to do so. So, this brings us to current day. At this stage, I can honestly say I am no longer the least bit intimidated by him. And believe me, I was for many, many years. But now I realize that I always viewed Sean as a loudmouth tyrant, when in reality, he's just a loudmouth, weak and insecure fool. And I truly, wholeheartedly pity him. I never wanted it to be this way. I wanted my son to have healthy relationships with everyone in his life, especially his father. That's such an incredibly important relationship, but only if it's a healthy one. I am by no means a perfect parent. I've made mistakes along the way, just like everyone, but I can honestly say, without any hesitation, that every decision and every choice I've ever made during the last 18 years, I made with the best of intentions, and I did what I thought was the right thing to do, and I make no apologies for that. My son and I have learned something important throughout all of this. Narcissistic love is conditional, and love that requires obedience isn't love. Protecting your peace isn't cruelty, it's survival. If any of this is ringing alarm bells for you, or maybe this is bringing up memories of a past relationship of some kind, please know this. You are not crazy, you are not unfit, and you are most definitely not alone. I created this podcast for one reason and one reason only, to create a community where people, men and women, can talk openly and freely with each other about anything and everything, so that no one has to ever feel like they're alone in something again. We all know what that feels like, don't we? So here's something new just for all of you listening. I created a private Facebook group called No Hard Feelings, Kinda, the After Party. Everyone is welcome to join, literally everyone. The group is private so that everyone knows they can share whatever they feel comfortable sharing in there without anyone outside of the No Hard Feelings Kinda family seeing it. This group can be literally anything you guys want it to be. We can laugh, cry, flip out, vent, overshare, bond, or do nothing at all. You don't have to post anything, ever, if you don't want to. All in the name of keeping our sanity intact. I really hope to see you guys there. And secondly, the other thing I want you guys to have is my phone number. Seriously. This is my direct number, and I want you guys to either write it down or save it in your phone. 970-872-8620. And if you want an easy way to remember it, just remember 970-TRAUMA-0. Trauma is spelled Trauma. Now, this is what I want everyone to really hear me say. If any of you are having a rough time, at any time, but especially right now with the holidays, text me, and I will call you. If you're alone on Christmas, text me. I will call you. If you're alone and or having a hard time on New Year's, text me. I will call you. All right, that was heavy, but unfortunately very real. So let's pivot into something lighter, because apparently Christmas brings out the audacity in everyone, not just narcissists. So it's time for the Audacity Files Christmas Edition.
Here comes the foolishness. Hold these receipts. That family text thread on fire. We got front row seats. It's the Audacity Files. Christmas edition, baby, grab you a plate.
A few days ago, BuzzFeed posted an article of 9 Am I the Asshole Reddit posts that they think both people are the assholes. As I was reading this one in particular, I knew I had to talk about it on here with you guys because I have quite a few things to say about it. So this was sent in by a man. So he writes, "My brother and I are 8 years apart. I'm older. Since he was about 12, I have lived in another state. We aren't close, but we hang out a few times a year, and it's easy and fun. I recently moved to the same city he and my parents live in. I envisioned us getting closer, but it never really happened. He's the king of I'll call you tomorrow, with 0 follow-ups. It hurts my feelings, but I've accepted it and take what I can get. He got married this past September. I was told that there was no wedding party because his wife's family is too big for her to make choices, and she didn't want to leave people out. I was given instructions to get a gray suit and that I would be given a blue tie for pictures. On the day of the wedding, I was hanging out in the men's dressing room, and I saw that my other brother had a gold tie, and that his best friend had on a gold tie, and that his old bandmate had on a gold tie. This was odd, but I didn't think too much of it. The ceremony started, and I was sitting in the audience. The music started, and there was a procession. My brother's 3 friends, but one being the other brother, walked in and lined up on stage left, and his wife's sister and her husband walked in and lined up on stage right, the non-existent wedding party. At this point, I had an almost out-of-body experience. The ceremony was a blur. After the ceremony, we took pictures, which means I took 1 picture with my brother, and that was it. I spent the cocktail hour in a stall in the bathroom, embarrassed and hurt. I made it through dinner okay, and instead of cake, my brother had made a ton of his specialty cookies for dessert. I'm allergic to the recipe as is, but with a very simple tweak, I can have them. He didn't make any for me or even warn me that this was happening, so I could have brought my own. Anyway, I left the second the dancing started. A week later, I sent the newlyweds a letter saying, basically, I thought things would improve once I moved here, but this wedding has shown me that we don't have a relationship outside holidays at Mom and Dad's house, so let's just keep it real, and I will see you there. Being disappointed all the time isn't healthy for either of us. The problem is that Christmas is upon us. And not only will they be at my parents' house, but they are bringing a couple of friends with them. So I will be really outnumbered and uncomfortable. I want to opt out of the dinner. So first, I would love to hear what you guys think. Do you think that everyone involved is the asshole? Because I don't. My advice to this guy is, sir, don't you dare go to that dinner. You are not the asshole. Now, maybe I'm hypersensitive to this man's situation because I too have a sibling that treats me like I'm less than or not worth an ounce of respect. I can feel this man's disappointment in my bones, but I will play devil's advocate too because I realize that there are always 2 sides to every story, and we're only getting one side here. So it's possible that, I don't know, maybe the brother thought that he didn't want to have a close relationship with him for some reason. But does that make it okay to then lie to your sibling and purposely exclude him from such an important and honorable event like being in your wedding party? No. And it will be pretty hard to convince me otherwise. This is what happens when communication breaks down and one person or both people don't want to man up and take ownership for the things that they've done wrong or could have handled better. This is 100% on the brother who didn't include him in the wedding party. Shame on him. But what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Or do you see it from a different viewpoint? I want to know. Weigh in the comments or take it to No Hard Feelings Kinda the After Party Facebook group. Let's discuss it.
Yesterday's foolishness, read the lies we've seen and tweets. Thanks for stopping by the Audacity files where petty snow plows the streets.
Let's keep rolling right along with this holiday theme. It's time for Fame, Flames, and Feelings, the Jesus is Watching remix. Christmas, the season of peace, the season of joy, the season where we all lie to ourselves and say, this year will be different. And then celebrities say, absolutely not. Welcome to Fame, Flames, and Feelings, the Jesus is Watching remix. The segment where we lovingly gather examples of famous people behaving in ways that make heaven quietly turn off notifications. This is not judgment. This is observation. Because if Jesus is watching, he's no longer making eye contact. Let's open with a Christmas story so traditional it should be laminated. Charlie Sheen, Christmas Day, arrested. Not Christmas adjacent, not holiday season, Christmas Day. Jesus gets one birthday a year, and Charlie Sheen said, challenge accepted. While families were opening gifts, Charlie was opening a case file. Some kids got Nerf guns, Charlie got fingerprinted. And I just imagine Jesus watching this like, I healed the sick. I walked on water. I cannot fix this man. Santa didn't leave coal. He left probable cause. Now let's talk about Kim Kardashian's Christmas decorations. Every year she posts them. And every year people react like they've just seen the fourth horseman of the apocalypse. Her house isn't decorated, it's occupied by Christmas. It's not cozy, it's what if Snow had a PR team? People said it was excessive, tone deaf, out of touch. And Kim was like, I hear you. Here's a drone shot. Somewhere, Jesus is watching and whispering, I was born in a barn. And Kim replies, cool, I rented the barn. Sponsored by Skims.
Christmas at the strip club. Christmas at the strip club. I'm having Christmas at the strip club. Mrs. Claus on a mission to...
Olivia Rodrigo attended a Christmas party at a strip club, which is bold, festive, and spiritually confusing. Fans were outraged. How could she? This isn't who we thought she was. Ma'am, she built a career on emotional devastation. You thought she was going to a cookie exchange? Jesus saw that Instagram story and said, I turned water into wine, not whatever this is. Nothing says season of reflection like a couple of Santa's elves wearing nipple tassels.
Best friends should be together. That's how it ought to be.
Now, this one hurts because it's quiet. Amy Schumer and Nikki Glacier. Friends for years, and now they're not speaking. But there was no public meltdown, no subtweets, just absence. That's not drama, that's emotional foreclosure. That's realizing someone won't be at your table and pretending it doesn't matter. Jesus watched that and sighed like, this is why I picked 12 friends. Low turnover.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. La 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly.
Shut up!
I hate you.
Some celebrities don't just hate Christmas, they perform it. Lady Gaga bit the head off of a Santa toy on stage. That's not, I dislike Christmas. That's, I'm going through something. Miley Cyrus wrote a sad Christmas song. Because, of course she did. Celebrities don't decorate. They emotionally unload with tinsel. Jesus is watching like, I respect the honesty, but it's December if you don't mind. And let's close with a reminder that Christmas has always been unhinged. In the 80s, a movie about a killer Santa caused national protests. The movie Silent Night, Deadly Night. Parents were furious. Commercials were pulled because nothing ruins childhood faster than Santa committing homicide. People said it was disrespectful to the season. And Jesus said, you're gonna lose it when you hear about Good Friday. So, this Christmas, if you're spiraling, if your family is tense, if someone brought up politics before dessert, just remember, you didn't get arrested, you didn't monetize the manger, you didn't host Christmas at a strip club, and somewhere above it all, Jesus is watching. He's not mad, he's just concerned.
What is wrong with you?
If you made it through this episode, I want you to hear this clearly. Thank you. Some stories are heavy, some people are audacious, and some Christmases require both boundaries and humor to survive. If this episode resonated with you, take what you need from it and leave the rest. You don't owe anyone emotional access just because it's the holidays. And if you want a place to talk about this episode or anything it brought up, the Facebook group No Hard Feelings, kinda, the after party is where you can do that. It exists for you, for all of you. It's a private, judgment-free space for people who get it. No fixing, no minimizing, no pretending. One more thing before I go, and I can hardly believe it, but next week is the season 1 finale of No Hard Feelings, kinda. This season has been honest, chaotic, healing, uncomfortable, and somehow still funny, and I'm really proud of it. So if you've been here from the beginning, thank you for trusting me with your time and your stories. And if you're new, welcome. You showed up at the perfect time. You can binge the season 1 episodes in time to start season 2 with everyone else. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, follow, or leave a review. It helps more than you know. And let's be real, my fragile ego sometimes needs the validation. Be kind to yourself this week. Drink water, stick to your boundaries, or maybe it's time to create boundaries. But remember, Peace is not something you earn. It's something you choose. I'll see you next week for the season 1 finale, right here on No Hard Feelings. Kinda. This time of year really brings out the passive and passive-aggressive. Nothing bonds a family like pretending we're fine. May your tree be as lit as your crazy aunt and creepy uncle. If you need me, I'll be disassociating under the mistletoe.